Hello, Becky. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Hello.
I'm so excited to have this conversation today because this is a topic that so many people are interested in and also feels like kind of hard to access the right information. So, thank you for coming on today.
You're welcome. You're right. It's publishing is like one of those areas that it's kind of like a big mystery to everybody, and nobody really knows what goes on in the publishing world, what happens to create a book, and because of that reason, it feels very far away from most people.
Completely. And then you can search blog article after blog article, and it's like I'm really too close it. I'm like, how do I actually do this? And do
Yeah.
I actually want to do this? And how much is involved? And how much does it cost? And we're going to dive into a bunch of that today.
Yeah.
So first up, tell me how you got into this world.
It's actually been a family business now for about 12 years. My dad ran it previously, and then he decided he had better things to do than run a business, and me and my husband took over. um, so we took it over, and we completely changed the business though. Like, it was, my dad always ran it as a fiction publishing business, and me and my husband just decided that was not the business model that we wanted to run. We wanted it to be much more geared towards non-fiction writers, and with our kind of personal interest in the wellness field, we really liked the idea of bringing it into that area and focusing on non-fiction writers. And much more recently, we've been more focused on helping coaches, online coaches, entrepreneurs, business owners, to write non-fiction books and to become published authors, to essentially to help them grow their own businesses.
Yeah, there's something about a book, right? Like something that is a lot more tangible and holds weight when it comes to being an expert online versus being a published author.
That's the thing. I think it's so easy to just fall into the shadows as an online coach specifically, because everywhere you look on social media, there's an online coach. There's an online coach for absolutely everything these days. And regardless of followers, if you've got published author in your bio, and you've got a book link, it just immediately makes you stand out from the crowd as an actual expert. Everyone can say that they're an expert, but are you really an expert unless you can write a book about it?
We're going to dive into more of that later. I'd like to just dive into a little bit more about you before we get started on the book and business side. But I thought I'd give everyone a little bit of a kind of a taste of that. Tell us about you. So people have heard your professional bio at the start of the show, but you're also a mom. So can you tell us a little bit about that, how old your little ones are, and how you manage running a business alongside that and what that looks like right now?
Pretty crazy. So I have 2.5-year-old twins, and a 4-year-old, all boys. So it's pretty crazy in our house. We actually kind of added to our plates even more we actually moved to Turkey when my twins were 8 months old. And that is where, when we were in Turkey, that's where we kind of took the business over and started things out there. So it's been pretty crazy. Me and my husband kind of both work really well together to ensure that, like, we both have enough time to get work done. Someone's on childcare duty and someone's working, and we prioritize things really well together and work well as a team. But yeah, it is crazy having to juggle 3 kids under 5 with with running a business and writing a book.
I know, but so you've just written a book and it's about to come out.
Mm.
So what is the book called?
So it's called Self-Publish Your Book Like a Pro. And it's exactly what it says on the tin, really. It's if you want to be able to, if you want to become a published author by self-publishing your own book, then you need to read this book to do it really, really well.
And can you just tell everyone how quickly you wrote this book, please?
Actually, so quickly, like it was actually under 3 months. It was under 90 days.
I
Yeah.
can't believe it. I can't believe it. I started a book in like 2020.
Really? 2020. Was that before the pandemic, right? Yeah,
I think
just before.
it was after. Like, yeah, the pandemic was 2020, but
Yeah.
I remember sitting down, my fourth was like a newborn, and I was like, it's time to write a book. And I
I
also
think
started
like
another business and, all the
yeah,
things.
exactly. I think like my one of my ways of kind of getting a break from the kids was literally to dive into my book, and I kind of used it as a really good excuse. So I'd say like I need to write another 1,000 words tonight, so you have the kids, you did their dinner and you put them to bed and I'm gonna go and write my book now, bye.
Yeah, okay.
So I think I could manage to get quite a lot of words done like that. And I think, I mean, there's a couple of little tricks to writing a book when you are an online coach, because, and I'll share it now because it's not like a top secret, but it's one of those things where you don't really think about it, and then you're like, oh, okay, so this is actually more achievable. Because when you're an online coach, or any kind of any individual who has a business in the online space, you probably writing a blog, you've probably got content coming out your ears on captions on social media, you probably have some kind of online course, and all of those things, you put all those things together, you basically have your book. Like it's going to need amending, it's going to need bulking out, it's going to need tying together. But a lot of the words in my book have come from content that I've previously created. So there's the trick.
So what did you actually do then? Did you just copy and paste all of that into a massive document? Did you like look at it all and think of themes and create like dot point outline? What does that process look like?
So for me, I wanted to get a structure in place first. I knew exactly which points I was going to cover. And the points were pretty obvious for me anyway, because there's a structure in which you use to be able to publish a book. So there was the obvious things, the obvious chapter titles that went straight in there. And then there was titles around those obvious points, like the self-publishing mindset, how to hire a freelancer, like extra kind of bonus chapters that things that people needed to know. So I structured my book out by chapter titles first, and they changed like organically. They just changed as I added content. I took chapters away, I added chapters in. So then once I had my structure out there, then yeah, you're right, I literally went to my previously written content and copy and pasted it. That was it. It's very, very basic. I like to call it a brain dump phase. So it didn't stay like just standard copy and paste from previous content. Like that formed the foundation of my book, and then I went back over all of it, shifted things around, reordered things, bulked it out, elaborated on certain points. So but that is essentially that's how the book started, and then it just developed from there.
So I still can't believe you wrote a book in less than 3 months. Why you have twins that are 2 and another child who's like 4 or 5, right?
I know. Yeah, he's 4.
And
Yeah.
okay, so you've got 3 children that are very, in need of lots of active mothering. Plus you're running a business, plus you're doing everything else that, that you do. It's pretty amazing.
Thank you. I don't think I give myself enough credit. I think, like I said, I kind of use work as an excuse to get some kind of me time. So I feel like actually work is like my selfish thing. So I don't feel like I congratulate myself for it.
Oh, you should. You definitely should. And, thank you for kind of giving us all a bit of a reality check that, even that we could probably get it done if we really actually wanted to get it done, right? It's
This is
not
the
something we
thing.
just need to keep putting off and putting off, because
Yeah,
if you can get that done in less than 3 months,
it's a
we
massive
it's something
prioritization
we can do.
thing.
Totally, right? Like anything.
Yeah, and it's it's a really easy thing to procrastinate about. And there's a few blog posts actually on our website about like ways for busy people to still be able to write a book. It is about prioritizing your book. It's but it's also about prioritizing the small amounts of time that you do have. Like how many people will, including myself, will sit there and go into like a doom scroll on social media in the evening, and you can literally just lose yourself for like half an hour. Whereas in half an hour, if you dedicated that time, set 30 minutes on your timer, you could probably get like 500 words written in your book in like half an hour. So it's
It's true.
definitely down to prioritization.
Totally. Thank
And
you for the reality check, Becky.
if I can do it with 3 kids under 5, anyone can do it. Here we go.
And also run a business, right? It's not like you just
Yeah.
could shut yourself in a hole. Like,
Yeah.
yes, you've got support with your husband, and yay for amazing husbands
I know.
that, are happy to, be a teammate, a true teammate. That's amazing. But you were still doing other things. It's not, so that's what I think also makes it just kind of click to go, okay, like, yes, it's going to take prioritizing, but it's also still possible alongside everything else that I need to get done if I want it to be. And the goal doesn't have to be 3 months, right? But maybe it's a year, but it means that we don't have to put it off.
That's the thing. It can be whatever time frame you want it to be, and because it's the kind of thing that people will want to do and then use to enhance their own business, then they're going to have some kind of time frame in their mind. So it's just can be completely down to each individual.
Mm-hmm. So how long is a book?
So my book is about 45,000 words, which, depending on like the way you format it, it's around 200 pages. So I wanted it to be like bite size enough for people to not get too overwhelmed with the content, but also to obviously be long enough for it not to look like a leaflet. So yeah, generally kind of these kind of self-help guide non-fiction books are going to be between maybe like 40 and 60,000 words. And I mean, after you've copy and pasted a whole load of your existing content, as long as it's obviously good quality content, you'll probably find you've got about 20,000 words already.
Yeah, okay. I'll have to have a look through and I'll let you know how I go.
I bet you've got so much content.
I've got so much content, but yeah, I do. You're right. I just don't know whether I feel like editing for that long. It's a lot of editing, right?
To be honest, the initial draft of like bulking out what I already had, that was kind of the nice job. And you know what? It's also such a good way to consolidate in your own mind what you already know. And you kind of, once you've written a book about your niche, you then actually feel more like an expert yourself as well. Because there's little bits that you want to write about and you think, oh, actually, I need to just double check that point. And then that's consolidating that point. Do that throughout, and then by the end, like I feel so much more confident now. Not that I didn't know the information before, but now when I speak to clients having written the book, I could literally talk all day to my clients about specific points that happen in my business, because writing the book has really just made me see like exactly what I know, and how much I do know, and that imposter syndrome is kind of gone now. So it's actually like a really
so good.
interesting task to just complete anyway.
Well, it's part of the learning process, right? Like, you meant to teach back what you've learned, and if you can teach it back, then they've really learnt it. So you know that I homeschool my kids, and so that is kind of how we check that they know things. We get them to teach the other child. And I guess that's in effect what we're doing when we write a book, right? We're teaching someone else what we've learned.
Yeah, exactly.
So that makes total sense. Okay, so around 40,000 words. Okay, that doesn't sound so unachievable.
Exactly.
And I
Are you
guess
going to go and
finding
write
a
the book
really there's a lot on at the moment
now?
that I'm prioritizing.
Yeah.
So yes, but I'll have to set a date. So yes, I will. I think I will put it on the calendar, but
Yes.
not in the next few months. I'm thinking my husband's actually leaving for 2 weeks on Thursday to do some volunteering
Oh wow.
in Vanuatu, and I'm thinking like, solo with 4 children, not a good time to start this.
Oh my god, I cannot even imagine the running a business while we've got 4 children and you're homeschooling them all as well. That's like even more insane.
I think the bar will be lowered over those 2 weeks. It's okay. It's all right. Totally, we'll manage. I've done it before. He's been to the Bahamas before for a few weeks as well. So, yeah, it's okay. I can sacrifice that for the good that we kind of get to do, even though I'm not there. So I still kind of get to feel part of it. So that's cool. All right. So tell me, how do you actually get started to, if you've decided, all right, I'm going to write a book, what can you just walk me through what this process looks like? And I know you've got a roadmap, a coach to author roadmap available on your website that people can go and download, and the link will be below as well. But can we just talk through that process so that we just make it a little bit less overwhelming? I just want to pull back the curtain a bit and go, oh, okay, there is actually a structure to this. People have done it before. People are happy to share this information. And this is something that I can, actually see what's involved and decide whether I want to do that for myself.
Yeah, because like we said earlier, it's kind of a big mystery. I think a lot of people want to write a book, but they literally have no idea where to even begin. So for me personally, the first thing I always ask people to do when they're teetering on the edge of, should I write a book? I ask them to kind of consolidate what they want to achieve from writing a book. Because it's important to know what your goals are from the process in order to achieve those goals. But also it is important for you to understand which method of publishing you choose, because there's 3 methods of publishing. So there's traditional publishing, which is the one that most people will know, where a publishing house will sign you up. They might give you an upfront payout, and then they basically do all the work for you. So that's the kind of traditional route. It's very hard to access that route. It's millions of writers will submit their manuscripts down that route, and not very many of them will get accepted. It's quite, you have to have very, very thick skin to go down that route. The other route is self-publishing, obviously. So self-publishing, you do it all yourself. And then there's a kind of middle ground, which is called hybrid publishing, where there's publishing companies who provide publishing services. So the author will pay for assistance from the hybrid publishing company, and they will complete the process for them. So those are the kind of 3 main publishing routes that any writer can take. And if you can understand what your goals are, and that will be really helpful for you to understand which method of publishing is going to be right for you. For example, if you want to make millions from your book, then traditional publishing houses have like huge PR and marketing teams behind them. They don't necessarily endorse people who don't have huge followings and aren't the kind of celebrities. It depends on the publishing house, but that's the way you kind of want to go if you really want to like get famous and be like a star author. So depending on your goal, it depend which method you take. And self-publishing can be a really, really good method to use if you are a business coach or an entrepreneur who wants to use a book to build their business, because you have all the creative freedom of how you produce that book. And that's why I wrote the book. So that's at the very beginning of the coach to author roadmap. And then
and your company does both, right? You help people self-publish via a membership, and like as in you kind of coach people through that process.
yeah,
And you also have the publishing house that does the hybrid model.
that's right. Yeah, so we do both. Like, it's effectively like a self-publishing services model. So yeah, either you can come to us, you can pay us, and we will publish your book for you. We don't accept every single submission because we're quite picky about the people that we actually do publish. We want it to be very in line with our own company message. And then aside from that, we have the self-publishing membership where we help authors who want to do it on their own and have their own creative freedom to do everything exactly how they want to do and manage their own budget. It can just be quite a daunting place to go through their self-publishing journey on your own. So we have the membership that people can sign up, and we can literally guide them through the whole process.
Can we talk about money while we're talking about this? So if you get accepted into a traditional publishing house, you're getting paid to do that, but you really do need to have a big following. That's been my experience as well, because that place is relying on your audience to sell books so that they get their money back. And so that's kind of, it's an audition process. It's very tricky to get that. You can't pay your way in. So that is that option. The option of completely self-publishing, what are you looking at then in terms of cost, like a range?
So I go into this in quite a lot of detail in the book. And before I get to the cost in the book, I talk about self-publishing mindset, because it's so important to understand that you need to publish your book to a high quality in order for it to be a successful book, because it's so easy. Like, if we're being really literal, self-publishing can be free, because you can write a Word document or Google Docs. You can write the text, that's free. You can go onto KDP, which is Amazon's self-publishing platform. You can upload it on there for free. You can design your own book cover for free on Canva. So technically speaking, you can self-publish for free. Will that be a good book that people are probably going to want to read and want to review highly? I'm going to say no. So I talk about it a lot in the self-publishing mindset, where you need to understand that your book, if you're using your book especially as a lead magnet for your business, your book is your reputation. You are only as good as you come across in your book and in the quality of the book that you produce. So I would say to produce a final product that you are proud of and that fully represents your business and will help you achieve the goals that you want to achieve, you're probably going to need to invest about £2,000 into self-publishing your book. Bearing in mind, like, that an editor on its own is like £1,000.
Okay, so £2,000 is Australian dollars $3,800, and in American dollars, I have no idea. Do you know how much that is? Hang on, I'm looking at it now. $2,500.
Okay.
Just to give people around the world perspective of what that is, and so that you're paying for editing, right?
Yeah. So for that, you would be. There are little bits of it that you can do on your own. So, for example, in the book, I completely break down like how to format your own book. That's completely free. You can ask friends and family to proofread your book, so that can be completely free. I would always recommend you hiring an editor. There's different types of editor, but I would always recommend don't skip the editing stage, because you don't know how good your book can be until it's been through the editing process by a professional editor. And you'd be so surprised at the kind of things that they pick up and change, and you're like, oh wow. like and you miss words out in sentences, and you repeat words throughout, and you just don't notice it because you've become so close to the project that you're working on. You just don't see it. So for it to be a credible book, I would always recommend hiring an editor. So that is the biggest expense. If you're really handy on Canva, there's absolutely no reason why you can't produce a really amazing book cover on Canva. I've seen it done before. I've produced book covers myself on Canva, and I think they're pretty good. I outsource it now, but there's really good things that you can do on Canva. So it's going to be mainly the editing, and then there's things like buying ISBNs, and depending on which print on demand platform you go for, some of them charge. If you want to get books printed, that's a cost as well. There's little costs all over the place. So
everyone wants a piece of the pie, Becky.
No, I know.
Goodness. So I know you go into detail in the roadmap, which is available for free via your website, which goes into kind of how to the process that we walk through, and like now you do cover design, and now you start marketing, and now you do all of these things. So for people who want that, just a quick overview, then they can get that on the website. And then the book, of course, goes into heaps of detail and gives you everything you need, right, to be able to walk through this process.
Exactly. Yeah, the roadmap is really just to point you in the right direction, to kind of be like, if you've wanted to do this for a while and you literally just want a quick guide of this is the step-by-step process, the author roadmap is really good, just to be like, oh, okay, I can do that.
Wrap your head around it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, oh, I'm going to have to bring support in for here, and I don't know anything about this thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go back to, before we have to wrap up, why would someone actually want to do this? Like, it's going to cost me money. This is going to be an investment in my business. But how can I use the book to get that money to make it a good investment, or to, like, what is a book going to do for me?
So it really is just another marketing strategy to add to your to the rest of your kind of marketing strategies, overall strategies. You would invest in other things to do with marketing, like, I don't know, social media adverts, or even outsourcing your social media management, that kind of thing. Investing in a book is such a good idea, and you won't necessarily see the return on royalties and book sales, because I'll be completely honest, if you're using print on demand, the royalties are going to be like maybe £2-3 per book that you sell. So unless you're selling loads and loads and loads of books, you're not going to become a millionaire overnight, and that's not really why you do it.
Thank you for talking about that.
It's important. Like, I guess you don't really realize the kind of money that you actually make from books.
I do meet a lot of people who want to write a book and think that's the way that they're going to make their fortune. And so thanks for addressing that actually money in this instance is not the goal.
Yeah.
So what's the goal, Becky? Why do we want to do it?
Well, this is why also I ask people to focus on what their goals are right at the beginning, because if it's to make your fortune, it's probably not the best way to go about it, but it can increase your revenue in other areas. So for example, you use your new published author status you can get into much more speaker events than you would before. People are much more willing to talk to you about things when they know that you've got a book out, and when they know you're a published author. One of our latest authors whose book is available in about 10 days time, she is advocating for chronic illness, and that was her goal from writing her book, was to become a really strong advocate in that area. And since she's written her book, the PR that we've done with her has brought in so many talks, so many podcast interviews, because everybody wants to talk to her because she's written a book. And even though it's not even published yet, just the fact that she also, as an individual, she has that drive now and that confidence in her to be like, I'm an advocate, like, I'm an expert, I've written a book, so I have stuff to say. It gives you so much more to say about your business. So even before the book is even a thing, you are able to market yourself so much more just by the idea of the book. So yeah, speaker gigs, podcast interviews. If you do really well, TV interviews, magazine articles, you get featured in other people's blogs.
It's the authority, right?
That's it.
Like it really comes down to going, oh, this is a tool that positions you as the go-to expert on that niche topic. And there's nothing in the world actually that does it as well as a book does it.
Exactly.
Like that positions you there. And so then from that platform, you get to choose how you use that. Do you sell your coaching product? Do you use it to go speaking? Do you use it to, get inside other people's mastermind? Like, what are you using it for is kind of, your internal process. But you're so right in that it's the jumping off point for so many things because it's something that not everyone does. And it does take effort. Like it took you 3 months. That's 3 months of focused attention that is, yes, shorter than kind of a lot of people think, but it's still like blood, sweat, tears, late nights, like it's the whole thing. And so it holds that weight that literally nothing else holds.
Exactly. It's literally like a book is like the springboard of opportunity. And if you're going to use it as a lead magnet to bring in more clients as well, then that's another form of revenue that you can increase clients, increase exposure, increase social proof. And the book to gain more clients, to gain more one-to-ones, to gain more people that are coming into your coaching course. The book is like a way to be able to relate to your clients and build that trust and really prove to them, like, look how good my book is. Imagine how many benefits you could come across if you work on a one-to-one with me. If you come into my
imagine if we may put this, like, customize this content for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, yeah. Oh, thank you, Becky. So how can people get in touch with you?
So we're on social media. You can go on my Instagram, you can go on our Facebook. You can email me. They are the best ways to get in touch with me. If you want to download the author roadmap, you can go on the website and you can download that for free. If you're wondering how to start a book, how to start the journey, you can find that out on the roadmap.
Okay, so what is your URL for your website?
It is ravencrestbooks.co.uk.
Amazing. But you do work with people all around the world, right?
Oh yeah, all around the world, yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much for just making this a lot less intimidating a process and for putting this book out there, because I know so many people want to do it and it has been traditionally really inaccessible for people to get a book published out into the world. And so it's either been totally inaccessible because they don't have a massive following, they're not a celebrity, or it's just so confusing. It's like, oh, I didn't even know I could do that. And I didn't even know where to start to actually start. And so thank you for giving more people this option, especially people who don't love being on social media and don't want to be an influencer. Like this is such an incredible way. Seriously, right? Like if you don't want to sing and dance on socials, you don't have to. You can pitch using the weight of your book and you don't even need to be on socials. Or, I mean, it's going to help with book marketing, but it allows people another option to build that name for themselves that isn't social media and that isn't hidden behind, the curtain of celebrity. So thank you so much for, showing people what's possible in their business. And I can't wait to read the book when it's out in a month.
Yeah, in a month.
In a couple of weeks.
It's out.
So if you're listening to this in kind of May 2024, then you can grab the pre-order of the book. That is, the link will be below. Otherwise, go and grab the book and read it, because it's going to be the best education you can get on. If this is something you want to do, trust me, I know Becky personally. Her knowledge runs very deep. You want to get the book. So
you do want to get the book. You'll be so empowered. You will want to write your book straight away.
Thank you. Maybe I'll come back and be like, guys, my book is out. Thank you, Becky, for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you for having me.